Yes, it's been a while since the last update. Apologize for that, folks. It's been really cold here, and even though this garage is heated, my garage doors don't seal that great. And when it gets down to a certain temperature, the heater runs almost constantly. So to avoid driving up my winter electric bill excessively, I decided to take a little bit of a break and do some other things. But it hasn't been out of mind or out of sight. And so we're now progressing onward with some rust repair finally. And so here's where we are. I've cut out this section of the floor where the under seat brace was that rotted it away. So I'm going to be making a patch to put in there. These are all the spot welds that I had to drill out. And I got a spot weld cutter. I don't think we showed you this before, but this is a spot weld cutter. This is a tool you can get for your drill. They sell them on Amazon is where I got mine. I got a whole box of them for not a lot of money. Even though they're, made in the land of COVID, they seem to work pretty well. I'm still only on my first one. The key to these is you got to drill out a pilot hole for that little shaft there. Otherwise the thing will want to walk on you. But that's the only trick to those. They work really well. And then had to get the floor brace, which I know I showed that before, but here it is. So that'll go underneath the floor like that. So it'll line up with the holes, and then we'll mark those and take the primer E-coat off of that and then drill them in. Doing the spot welds or the plug welds from the top isn't going to be bad, but the ones on the end here might be a little fun. I don't know. We'll find out. That's from Auto Metal Direct. Bless their souls for making that. And had to get some steel. I didn't have the right thickness. I was a little disappointed. So I picked this up. You may wonder, where do you get a big sheet of steel like that, or even a larger one? And my local hardware store did carry this, but it was $10 more than going to where I ultimately bought this, was at Tractor Supply. And you can look it up online to see if your store has these in stock or not. My local one actually didn't. I had to drive to one 20 minutes away to get it. So did I really save the 10 bucks over just going to a local hardware store? I don't know. Maybe not, but I felt better about my purchase. And I like Tractor Supply. I just don't know why my local one didn't have these in stock, and just waited several weeks and they never restocked it. So I don't know what that was about. But here's the old underfloor brace. As you can see, it's completely shot. The one on the other side is actually pretty solid, although it did cause a little bit of floor rot. So I have to cut out the floor and try to weld in a little small piece without damaging this piece underneath. And then this is the piece of floor that I cut out, and you can see it's completely junk. Got the parking brake cable in and adjusted properly. That took a couple of attempts. And I couldn't remember how it went back together, so that was fun. But I got it where the parking brake foot pedal was not returning the whole way and popping up like it was supposed to. And it was because I didn't have some of the parts together correctly. And the spring, the only thing that returns that pedal is the spring underneath the car on the cable. And so you have to have everything adjusted properly and all the parts in the proper order, or it doesn't work. So that's currently where we are. My heater just kicked on again, so it's going to make some noise. And we'll stop here and come back a little bit later. Talk about these door trim panels and how to get those off. They're not complex, but if you don't know what you're doing, you could potentially damage them. So, how do you think they come off? Well, you'd probably be wrong, unless you've done these cars before. So you need to remove the two handles, and you're going to need an Allen head socket or an Allen wrench to get those off, because there's little Allen head screws in the middle of these holes. And then the armrests have to come off if you're equipped, and there are two Phillips screws that hold each one of those on. Then, of course, you would think that these would just pop off with retainers holding them on, and you'd be mostly right, but there are only retainers along the front and back ends. The middle sits in this channel. It tucks up in the channel at the top, and it rides in the channel at the bottom. And then when you pull it off, you can see it's not a very complicated thing. It's basically two metal spring clips on each end. And you got to be very careful that you don't tear this backing board when you're trying to pull these out, because they'll pull through here if these things are getting old and rotten. This one was already done. I didn't do that myself. But it's very simple. It's just a piece of fiberboard with the vinyl glued and stapled to it. So if this is rotten, this is not the worst thing in the world to try to replace, other than trying to preserve these edges here would be a problem. This one's in good shape. I'm going to be able to reuse it. And behind that is basically a piece of paper. This is your water shield. This keeps the back of that door trim panel from getting all screwed up and damp from the water that comes in through the door to glass joint. Now Ford did coat these on the back side with some kind of tar-like material. So they are waterproof resistant to some degree. And then this is what you wind up with after you have it off. Inside the door you might find that your soundproofing material is starting to chip and fall off and crack everywhere. It's pretty thick, heavy stuff, and you can see here where it started to corrode, where moisture has gotten behind it. So I'm not a big fan of this stuff, and might be wise to chip all that out of there, try to preserve the door. And then also we've got all kinds of crud accumulating in the bottom here. That's all like foliage and leaves and stuff. So we're gonna have to vacuum that out. There you go. You can really see it. How much junk is it in here? And that's all just stuff that's come in between the window glass and the worn out belt molding. So definitely worth taking your trim panels off and cleaning this stuff out before it starts to rust out the bottom of the door. And here's the metal patch I made for the floor. It's got a couple of contours, so it took quite a bit of trial and error fitting, but it's the patch initially welded in. I got it a little short up in this corner here, so I'm going to have to make some pieces to fill that in, but no big deal. And this is just the first pass on the welding. I did have the welder set a little too high and it started to blow through a couple places, but that's correctable. But that's going to be the worst of the interior floor patches. Once I get this one done, we'll start on this one over here, which is just a matter of cutting that section out there. And that'll be it for floor pan repair. There is some other work to be done though. I think I might have showed it before, but we'll do a slight review here. So there's a cavernous hole here that I'm going to have to take care of. This is in the passenger side front fender well. And I'm not even sure how this came to be, how this started to rust out, but it's pretty massive. And then that travels down into here. So this whole section is going to have to be cut out and a piece put in there. But again, this is stuff that the home mechanic can do, because you're not going to really see it when it's done. It's going to get covered with some undercoat. So my ugly welds and finish work's never going to matter. And there's a little bit of a hole on the other side too. It's kind of up in here. And that's it for the rust patching, except for in the back quarters, which is another story, and I've showed you that before. So anyway, that's I'm going to keep moving along with the floor patch. Then this we're probably going to do by taking the fenders off because I want to get in there and clean out all the gack and crud that's going to be collected behind here. Because when you beat on this fender, it just sand and stuff sifts down from the fender area. And it'll also make doing the front suspension easier, I think, if the fender's off. You can just get right in there and tackle that. So that's where we are. I'm going to throw this up now so you guys have been following along have something to look at for the time being. But we'll continue on with this, and the next update will hopefully have even more good stuff. One curiosity of this car, by the way, is it has a Futura emblem, as it should, on the passenger side. And on the driver's side, it says Falcon. Pretty sure that's not right. So I did buy another emblem that I have here, courtesy of eBay. So that's it. It's getting covered with parts and tools and dirt and dust. Sad, but it's getting there. Look forward to seeing you guys next time. Thanks for watching.